Hey everybody, Terry White here and welcome to my smart home. Today we're going to take a look at the new Lutron Caséta Smart Dimmer and Pico Remote. That's the Diva style, the new easy to use, no guesswork style smart switch and new Pico Remote. Now, to be honest, I already have a Diva Smart Dimmer in the room where I want to put this. Thanks to Lutron for sending me the kit, but what I really was interested in primarily is just the new Diva Pico Remote. So this is the new paddle style. Now this is great. I'll find a use. Don't worry. I'll find a use for the other smart switch. But let's talk about how I want to use this and how I have it set up. Now I've been using Lutron Caséta products since 2016. 7 years of using Lutron Caséta. And with that said, it is simply the best and most stable set of products in my smart home, bar none. Never have any issues. It just works. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a smart switch that replaces a regular dumb switch. So this isn't really for colored lights. This is for, like for example, the chandelier in my dining room, which is just a regular chandelier. And I want to replace that dumb switch with one of these. And I did that. I already made a video about the new Diva smart switches. So you can go back and check that video out. So with that said, I've already got this part installed. So if you're not, if you're not electrical friendly, meaning you're not comfortable doing electrical work, even though this is pretty simple, hire an electrician, hire a licensed electrician. That way you're covered. All right, so I already got this installed, and this is great because it's a no-brainer. Press to turn on, press to turn off, and you have a dimmer switch that slides up and down. Everyone can figure this out. It doesn't take rocket science to know how that works. But in the past, the Pico remotes have looked like this. They've looked like several buttons that the person walking up to the wall that doesn't know how these work would have to say, okay, which button do I press just to turn the light on? Well, today that's being replaced with the brand new Pico remote, which matches the style of the Diva Dimmer and Claro smart switch. So they make a switch that's a dimmer like the one I just showed you. They make one without the little toggle for the brightness. That's just a switch. And this can control either one. As a matter of fact, this can control all your Lutron Caséta products. So it's really just a matter of preference at this point. If you like the separate controls for dimming, the middle button for presets, and the on-off, then go with the older style. If you're putting it in an area where people are liable to walk in and want to turn the light on and they don't know your smart home, then I recommend going with the new paddle style, the new Diva. All right, so here's what I want to do. In my last video about the Diva, I put it in a dining room. And I realized, after all this time that, I've always had a smart switch there, but it's all the way on the other side of the room. I know that sounds like a long distance, but it is on the other side of the room. So when you walk in the house and you want to go to the dining room, you'd have to walk all the way to the other side of the dining room before you could turn the light on. So that means that you could be walking in the dark, you could be tripping over stuff, or you'd have to use a voice command, your Apple Watch, your app, to turn the light on. And if you're bringing stuff in, no one wants to do all of that. That's why I've always been a proponent of having physical switches for everything I can in my smart home, so that in case I don't want to use a voice command, in case I don't want to use an app, in case I don't want to use an automation, I can just literally walk over, turn something on, turn something off, just like the old way. All right. So what I want is a typical three-way setup. You've had these in your homes for years. Take a staircase where there's a switch at the bottom of the staircase to turn the lights on. There's a switch at the top of the staircase to turn the lights on. That's what we call a three-way setup. But typically that means that it would have to be hardwired for both switches, one at the bottom of the stairs, one at the top. Or in my case, one on one side of the dining room, one at the entrance. I don't have any hard wiring for a switch at the entrance. So that's where this is going to come in. This is wireless. This is battery operated, requires no electrician. And in the box, they give you the cover, the panel, this cover comes off the switch, by the way, but they give you this for the switch, But they don't give you this panel for the Pico remote, which I kind of wish they did. But that's okay. It was a kit. You can get a panel separate, which I already have one. But they do give you, which is important, if you notice there's a little pocket on the back of this. This slides into a wall bracket. They give you that little plastic wall bracket. So even if you didn't want to go with the fancy cover, they give you everything you need to mount this on the wall. They also sell pedestals. So this is one of my switches that I leave on my desk and my streaming setup to control things. And it's got a little pedestal to just sit on the table. But again, I want this wall mounted right at the entrance so that when I walk in or anyone walks in, they can hit a button, turn the dining room light on. Simple as that. But I don't want to call an electrician. My electrician Keith is cool, but I don't want to call Keith out for this. All right, so how's this work? Once you have the switch installed and configured in the Lutron app, then you would, and by the way, because these Pico remotes are so new, I had to do a firmware update to make the existing switch compatible with the new Pico remote. So did the firmware updates, all done, ready to go. And then I added this to the app. Now it's just a matter of taking literally like 5 minutes to measure, to install the wall bracket, make sure it's level on the wall, and slide it in, put the plate on top, and now I've got a three-way switch. I've got a switch on each side of the dining room to turn the light on, turn the light off. Now, even though the switch has that physical control for dimming, the Pico remote, and this is one of the downsides of this Pico remote, is that it doesn't have any way to dim. However, whatever setting you left the light on, like you slid it to your favorite dim, that means when you press the button, it goes to that first, press it again, and it goes all the way to 100, press off, it goes off. Well, the Pico remote, even though it doesn't have the slider, works the same way. On, press it up to turn it on, press it again to go 100, press it down to go off. Simple as that. So even if someone walked in the room, they didn't know any better, they pressed it on, at least they would have some light. It may not be 100% because it's whatever you left the slider on. But if they pressed it again, it would go to 100%. They don't have to worry about using a slider. So kind of a downside that the Pico remote doesn't have any dimming, any custom dimming, I should say. But that's it. That's pretty much the only downside. Now, if I were you, I'd be asking 2 questions right now. Question number 1, how much is that new Pico remote? $20. Pico remotes are dirt cheap. Second question, and it's a bigger question I would have, is how long does the battery last? Because, with all that, it's just a little thing with a little coin battery. I'm going to have to change that every week, every month, every whatever. And one day, I'll be able to tell you how long the battery lasts, because I don't know. I've been using Pico remote since 2016, 7 years ago as of the recording of this video. I've never had to change one. I got them all over the house. We use them every day. I've never had to change the battery in 7 years. So how long does a new one last? I don't know. Years? I don't know how many, but we'll find out one day. And as soon as I have to change a battery in one of the old ones, I'll let you know how long it lasted. But we're going on 7 years of using Pico remotes, and I've yet to ever have to change a battery in any of them. So battery life, pretty strong. Stronger than anything else in my smart home for sure. So I don't mind these are batteries. I love the fact that they're wireless. And I also love the fact that they are not Bluetooth. They're not Wi-Fi. They're not even Thread, which I do like Thread. They're none of those technologies. They're Lutron's clear choice RF frequency. So that's another reason why they're rock solid. They just work. If your Wi-Fi is down, your smart home's down, they'll still work because they're using RF technology to send the signals. So that's why they're so darn rock solid. All right, so that's it. I'll leave descriptions. I'll leave a description, but I'll leave the links in the description for everything that I talked about, as well as if you like this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe and ask any questions you have. Like I said, I've been a fan of Lutron. I don't get paid by Lutron. Lutron's never paid me a dime. I don't get paid by them. They're not a sponsor and none of that. They send me products at no obligation. They just said, hey, you want to review this? I said, sure. That was the conversation. All right, so with that said, cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.